My script goes right into the theme for the year. So we welcome everyone. Oh, and we have welcome people. So let me go into that. I will just improvise, because I've been to this service before. I think I remember, maybe. So we welcome you all. Absolutely. Look at you, beautiful people. And anyone who is here for the first time, we invite you to simply raise your hand and receive a gift. Our Reverend Catherine will offer you a packet with information about this beautiful community and a way to receive a special book. So anyone here for the first time that we can love you up and welcome? Well, welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. What's next, Ceci? Values-based living. Here we are. No, I didn't see anyone. But if you'd like to later, if you're feeling a little shy and want to meet with Reverend Catherine later, she's got the packet for you. So values-based spiritual living, and each month we dive into a particular value, and for July, our value has been and continues to be open communication. And it's been my joy today to create an altar to represent open communication and the topic today, which is conversations with yourself. And I selected Kuan Yin, who in this pose is looking inward. She's having a conversation with the divine within herself. And in front of her, later when you come up to the altar, you'll see there's a carved crystal with the Shri Yantra, which is Om, the originating sound. So when we're in communication with the divine within ourselves, we're offering up the gifts of spirit in our word, in our thought, and our way of being. So it's been my joy to create an altar today. And you could acknowledge that. That would be all right. Oh, thank you. So, taking a breath, and today there have been lots of surprise things happening, so I just kind of feel like the trickster is playing through our service today, and we're also present with the sacredness of it. It's my delight to present to you our guest speaker today. Now, she is a family member. She's one of our staff ministers. We know her very, very well, and yet I do want to give a formal introduction because of her illustrious accomplishments that we may not all be completely familiar with. Reverend Sarah Hargrave is dedicated to bringing out the best in individuals and organizations she works with. She created her own unique ministry without walls, an entrepreneurial ministry in which she assists individuals to discover their own spiritual path and to apply spiritual principles more fully every day in whatever they do. She is one of our staff ministers. She's a practitioner, teacher, seminar leader, and meeting facilitator. She brings real-life practical skills to her work, skills honed during an over 20-year career in the corporate world and supplemented by many years of study of the science of mind. She is a creator of popular and dynamic workshops and will be presenting, and you'll hear more about, Money, Beliefs in and You, as well as Managing Your Mind for Success. She's been leading monthly Extra Edge meetings to discuss how to apply spiritual principles in everyday life and work, which have been going on for over 25 years and takes place in Marin and Belmont. Yeah, let's give kudos. 25 years of dedication to spirit and business. Her workshop, which, as I said, you'll hear more about later, is being presented on August 25th from 1 to 6 at Hamilton. And after service, Reverend Sarah she's going to have her own table in the usual spot of the bookstore, so you'll have an opportunity to talk with her about her workshop and also anything you'd like to discuss about what you glean from her talk today. So I'm just culminating all of that. There's so much more to say about this beloved. We're so grateful for her presence in our community. let us offer a warm Golden Gate welcome to Reverend Sarah Hargrave.
Well, it's nice to be here, up here, talking to you today. As Janet mentioned, the topic is open communication, and generally communication is thought of as sharing or exchanging information or news with others, but there's also the idea of having conversations with yourself. So today I'm going to talk to you about several things, which is, one, conversations with yourself, secondly, conversation with yourself and others, and third, conversations with yourself and infinite intelligence or spirit. And in our time together, I plan to tell you a couple of stories. The first is something that happened recently with a friend, which happened to be a comedy of errors and resulted in what we both thought in advance was open communication, but it turned out not to be. I don't know if any of you ever had a situation like that? Well, and the second story I'm going to talk about is something that you're very likely to have conversations with yourself about, but are very unlikely to have conversations with other people about. And that's money, which is a taboo topic, it seems, in our culture. I looked up conversations in Wikipedia, and I found they said it's an interactive communication between two or more people. It also mentions something called intrapersonal communication, and that's the act of communicating with yourself, and it notes that that can often be helpful in solving problems, which we know, of course. And no matter what who we're having conversations with, ourselves or anyone else, no matter what these conversations about, but at the root of all these conversations is a set of ideas and beliefs, your own unique set of ideas and beliefs. So what is a belief? A belief is anything that you hold to be true. Anything that you hold to be true. So it's an opinion, it's also a habit of your mind. And where do we get our beliefs? Anybody suggest where you might have gotten some of your beliefs? Parents and family, that gets said almost every time first when I ask that. Where else do we get them? School, friends, media, life experience, culture, religion is one of the big ones. Classes, thank you. And why are our beliefs important? They're important because they actually run our lives. Our beliefs run our lives. So most everything that you do, say, or feel in your life is connected in some way with your thoughts and your unique set of ideas and beliefs. Those ideas and beliefs that you have, those habits run your emotions and your behavior, whether you're conscious of it or not. If you think of your mind kind of like a computer, the mind itself is like the hardware of your computer, and your beliefs are the software of your computer. And so those beliefs actually run the whole system. And as you probably know from working on your own computers, some software is better than other software. And the same is true for our beliefs. Some work better than others, and some produce better results than others. And we can have conflicts in our software, conflicts in our system that can mess up the system. So every person, as I said, on this planet has a unique set of ideas and beliefs, unlike anyone else who's ever lived before. So if you're talking to another person or relating to another person, it is guaranteed that you will have a different set of ideas and beliefs than the person you're talking to, even though you may share some of the ideas and beliefs. So the first story I want to tell you about is conversations with myself and with other people, and also with spirit and infinite intelligence. I have a very good longtime friend, Bernadette, and we made plans to go see a matinee of a musical that was downtown in San Francisco. It was about Janis Joplin. It was playing at the ACT Theater. And I offered to treat her for her birthday, and if she wanted to go. So we compared schedules and decided to go on the Saturday before the 4th of July. Bernadette lives in Daly City, so we agreed the best plan to avoid downtown traffic was for me to drive to Daly City, meet her at the Daly City BART, and go on BART together down to Union Square and go to the rush tickets, get rush tickets at the box office at noon. And for some of those, if you don't know about rush tickets, sometimes when theaters have extra tickets, they, a couple of hours ahead of time, offer them at a lower price if you show up a couple of hours ahead of time. So we decided we'd do that. And I looked the night before, and I saw that there were over 100 tickets left for that performance, so I figured it was pretty sure that we had good odds at getting tickets. So a few days ahead of time, Bernadette and I had a phone call to confirm our plan, and we confirmed that we would definitely meet at the Daly City BART. And the day before we were scheduled to meet, we even sent an email confirming meet at BART at 11 a.m. The day of the play, it was the beginning of that holiday weekend of the 4th, and I was grateful to be going into the city instead of coming out of the city, because there was a line of cars all the way down to 19th Avenue coming into Marin, most of them moving about 5 miles an hour. And so I arrived at Daly City because my side of traffic was working really well just before 11 o'clock, and I parked up on the outside lot closest to the entrance, and I headed down the stairs into the station. I didn't see Bernadette, and so I positioned myself. There's a small lobby where there's tickets, and where everybody who parks at any lot comes through that lobby. So I thought that was a very good place to be, and no matter where she was coming from, she would be able to see me. So I'd been surprised when I went down the stairs, because normally Bernadette is a little ahead of me and would have been there, but she wasn't there. So I waited about 10 minutes, and I decided it would be good to try to reach her and make sure she was okay and that maybe she'd been delayed. So I fished around in my purse and for my cell phone, and I couldn't find it. And then it occurred to me I'd left it at home, charging in my kitchen. Not good. So I thought, oh no, she's probably trying to reach me, telling me why she's not getting there, and I'm not answering my phone. So I thought, how am I going to reach her? So I thought, maybe I can find a payphone and call her. Then it occurred to me, number one, there's no payphone, and number two, I didn't have her number because it was in my cell phone. So I didn't come up with any other idea. I briefly thought about going back to Marin to try to get my phone, but with the traffic, that was not going to be possible. The play would have been over by the time I'd gotten back over here. So I thought about asking somebody else who was walking through or going through to BART if I could borrow their cell phone to see if I could retrieve any messages that she might have left me. But I didn't see anybody that I felt like I could ask to borrow their phone. And since we were in an open area, I thought I was having a conversation with myself saying, if I ask someone to use the phone, maybe they'll think I'm trying to take it and steal it. Even though I don't think I look like a phone thief, that doesn't stop the conversation that I was having with myself about possibly being mistaken for one. And I want to make the note that our conversations do not have to make any rational sense. Have you noticed that? So while I was waiting at BART, I was thinking about maybe Bernadette had the wrong day or was delayed somehow, was trying to reach me. I was really frustrated about it, and I kept thinking that she would show up any minute and all would be okay. So as time passed, I thought about driving to her apartment and checking to make sure she was okay, but she lives in one of those communities where they have a gate you have a code to, and I didn't have the code, and then I thought, well, I'll be driving there and she's going to be coming here and we'd miss each other. So I believe the best option was to just stay where I was. Soon it was nearly 11:30, and I wanted to get to the theater before noon. I was torn about what to do. My mind was racing. I wanted to be sure and get in line for the tickets, and I didn't have any idea what to do next. There didn't seem to be any possible solution in sight. So I took a few minutes. I centered and grounded myself, and then did prayer treatment. For those of you who may not know what prayer treatment is, I think probably all of you do. It's a unique form of affirmative prayer that we teach here at the center, and includes consciously connecting with spirit and infinite intelligence, positively affirming what we want and opening our minds to answers and solutions to come. And then receiving guidance. And of course, if you want to know more, there's plenty of classes here that will tell you that. So I went in to connect with spirit and infinite intelligence, and what I was affirming was that I wanted to somehow connect with Bernadette, get to the box office, get the tickets, see the play, and have a wonderful day celebrating her birthday. Part of my prayer treatment involved turning it to my inner guidance to figure out what to do. So in talking about treatments, Ernest Holmes says, try to arrive at a deep sense of peace and calm. Then assume an attitude of faith in a power greater than you are. Next say, the words I speak are my law of good, and they will produce the desired result because they are operated on by a power greater than I am. Good goes from me. Good alone goes from me, and good alone returns to me. Holmes also spoke about the importance of denying anything that conflicts with what or contradicts anything that you're affirming. So denying anything that is other than the results you're absolutely desiring. So I would add that in order to deny anything that conflicts with the results that you're desiring, you have to be fully aware of the conversations you're having with yourself and what ideas and beliefs you are having in your mind about the situation and about the ideas and beliefs that are coming up that contradict what you're affirming. And then settle in and focus on those ideas and beliefs so you can shift them so they'll support you in what you want rather than in feeding your doubts and undermining of what you're affirming. I started out affirming to myself the truth that I had no idea what to do next. And I kept reminding myself that in past situations that I had faced, Spirit had come up with some very amazing solutions. Solutions I never would have thought of. So I affirmed there was an answer, and that answer already existed in the mind of God and was unfolding by means of me and was being revealed to me in the right way and the right time. I just settled into knowing I would be guided. I kept doing the treatment, and against the background in my mind, the conversation that said, this is an impossible situation. There's no way you can find Bernadette without your cell phone. That's going to be difficult. It's against all odds. And of course, along the way, the conversation of blame came up. How could you have forgotten your cell phone? And there was lots of other that blah, 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 blah. So I was going back and forth, and I kept bringing myself back to that place of faith that there's always an answer to the problem at hand. And I just needed to listen to manage my own conversation. And one of the reasons we call it treatment is because we need to treat our minds with Spirit releasing mental ideas and inner conversations that may be getting in the way of the better result that we are experiencing and wanting to experience. It's a way of letting go of limiting ideas and beliefs. And you know the saying, as you believe, so shall you receive. So Holmes also said in the process of doing spiritual mind treatment that you reach a place of realization where you enter into a feeling of assurance that comes from a consciousness of the divine presence in, around, and through you. And try to keep your mind poised in a way that you do not contradict what you have said in your treatment. Keep your mind open at all times to the influx of new inspiration, new power, and new life. Dr. Carlton Whitehead, who was my teacher from the very beginning of my studies through my ministerial training, talked about when we have decisions to make, whether they're small decisions or big decisions, we often get the information we need at the moment we need it, and we don't often get the whole picture of how it's all going to play out. But we're guided along the way. He gave the example of if you were in this room and wanted to go out the back door, there'd be no way to know exactly all the steps you'd be taking to get there. Somebody might step in your way, or there might be something, a wrinkle in the floor, and you might lose your balance, but all you could do is take one step at a time, keeping in mind where you're going. So my goal was to somehow connect with Bernadette and get to the box office, get the tickets, see the play, and have a wonderful day, even though it seemed impossible. So I reminded myself again, Spirit's very inventive, and there's always a solution. I realized when I relaxed into that, there was a light bulb that went off in my mind, and I got more clarity. So I said to myself, what's the next step I need to take? Just the next step. Do I get on BART and go downtown? Do I wait here a while longer? And the answer eventually became clear. Get on BART. That didn't make any sense to me. But then the inner conversation started. What if Bernadette arrives and I'm not here? Is she going to get mad? Is she going to be upset that I went downtown without her? But I felt the message was really clear. Get on BART. So I forged ahead, headed up the stairs, the elevator to the train, and as I waited for the train, my mind was racing and I was searching for guidance, all the while knowing that I would be guided along the way and trying to think of possible ways I might find her. I noticed a group of 4 people, a man and 3 women, older, dressed up, looking like they were headed downtown to do something special. They got on the train to downtown, and I felt guided to follow them and sit across the aisle from them. As the train pulled out of the station, I said to myself, maybe they would let me use their phone. And so since the train was already moving, I thought, well, now they won't think I'm trying to steal their phone or run off with it because there's no place to go. So I overrid that conversation. And so I caught the eye of one of the women, and I smiled at her, and I got up my courage, and I asked her if I could borrow her phone and to call my friend. And I explained my situation and why I needed to reach my friend, and that I needed to check my voicemail. I wanted to see if she'd left me a message. So in the discussion, she said they were headed to the theater too, although they were going to a different play. She unlocked her phone, handed it to me, and it turned out Bernadette had left messages, both on my cell phone and my home phone. But despite the voicemail message I have on my phone that says, please leave your name and number, even if you think I don't have it, she didn't leave her number. So here I was. I knew that she was trying to reach me, and her only message was, I'm on BART, where are you? Or I'm at BART, where are you? So I explained to my newly found friends what had happened, and I bemoaned the fact that she hadn't left the number, and I couldn't call her. I didn't have any idea how to reach her, and I was very frustrated. Then the man looked at me and he said, I think I've heard if you press 5 after getting your voicemail, it will either redial the number of the person who left you the message or tell you the number. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Okay. I tried it and it worked. Hurrah. But it gave me the number really quickly. And so I didn't have anything to write it down on. I didn't remember it. So then I had to call back. And about that time, the train went through, if you've ever ridden BART, through one of those places where the noise is overwhelming and you can't hear anything. So finally I said to the man, if I call again and give you the numbers as they call out, will you write them down? So he said he would. So then the question remained, would Bernadette answer a phone call from a number she didn't recognize? Luckily, she did. So I had success, and she said, "Where are you?" And I told her I was in BART on my way downtown. And I said, "Where are you?" And she says, "I'm at BART." And I asked, "Where?" And she says, "I'm in the parking lot." I replied, "In the parking lot?" Then I added, "Get on the train and meet me down at the theater." So I thanked the group for their assistance and told the man he was my hero for the day. I got off at Union Square and walked to the ticket office, got the ticket, sat down and waited for Bernadette to arrive, happily marveling at all the wonderful circumstances that had miraculously lined up for a positive ending. Giving thanks for the way that I was guided along the way, so that seemingly impossible situation was solved and working out okay. And seeing and remembering how along the way each time I was guided. So when Bernadette arrived at the theater, I was happy, relaxed, grateful, and amazed at how things had worked out, giving thanks to infinite intelligence and spirit for the guidance. But when Bernadette arrived, she was cranky. She was upset and agitated, and as we talked, she said, "I'm upset and frustrated, and how can you be so happy and relaxed?" I knew from my years of study and work as a teacher and a coach and a practitioner and a minister that at the core of this situation was miscommunication, not any intentional wrongdoing. I knew that it had to do with something about the conversation each of us were having with ourselves and about the different ideas and beliefs we had about what happened in that situation, and that had resulted in a kerfuffle. And I looked up the word kerfuffle to make sure I was using it right, and it means a commotion or fuss, especially one caused by conflicting views. Well, that's what we were in. So we clearly had conflicting views, and I'm sure you probably have had a kerfuffle or two in your life as well. So in advance, although we'd communicated clearly with each other, or thought we had not communicated clearly enough. We both had ideas and beliefs and didn't check them out with each other. And on the way to BART, both of us believed we knew exactly where at BART we should meet, and both were bewildered and upset when the person we were expecting to meet was not where we thought they should be. So during this whole adventure, from the start to finish, both Bernadette and I were having conversations with ourselves about what was going on, taking actions based on our own unique ideas and beliefs, and having emotional reactions based on our ideas and beliefs. When Bernadette arrived at the theater, I was looking forward to clearing up the miscommunication and finding out why she'd been in the car in the parking lot instead of coming into the station. But seeing her mood, I recognized this was not a good time to ask that question. So we went and grabbed a quick bite, went to the theater, and had a wonderful time enjoying the show. After the show, we were walking around the Union Square, and Bernadette suddenly stopped. She looked straight at me and said, I need for you to apologize." And I knew she thought I had done something wrong, and somehow I was at fault for all that had happened. But I didn't know what she believed I should apologize for. So I didn't really have any idea, because I saw it was a miscommunication. So when she said, "I need for you to apologize," I said, "Bernadette, I apologize." And then it didn't seem like enough, so I unfortunately added, "Could you tell me what I'm apologizing for?" She did not like that answer. So it just amped up the situation. In her mind, she knew exactly what I should be apologizing for, and at that moment, there was no way for me to know what I should apologize for. So it's common for us to believe that others know what we're thinking and know what we're believing and what we should be thinking. But the other person rarely has an idea of what's going on in your mind. The whole adventure, I didn't think of it as being right or wrong. Neither of us were right or wrong. I just thought of it, we were operating out of our own ideas and beliefs and taking action on those, and then experiencing a variety of emotions out of those. In preparing for the talk, I knew I'd be able to tell you my part about the ideas and beliefs, but I didn't know what had happened in Bernadette's head, and exactly what she wanted me to apologize for, and what beliefs she had while she was waiting in the car for me. And it had been, I felt like, kind of a touchy subject that I didn't want to broach with her. But I decided, since I was giving the talk, I wanted to also tell her side of the story. So I called her and told her that, and she told me that she believed that I always parked in the outdoor lot. She'd seen me do that before, and she believed that she would arrive before I did. And she believed that she could sit in her car and wait for me in the parking lot and get out of my car, and she could see me get out of my car. And then she believed we could go into BART together. However, the only thing she admitted was that she remembered only that my car was white. So she didn't know exactly which car she was looking for. And she also admitted that part of the time she was looking down fiddling with her radio. So I got the courage to ask her the big question, which is exactly what it is I needed to apologize for. She said, I wanted you to cop to the fact that none of this would happen if you had not forgotten your cell phone. So needless to say, I had a somewhat different viewpoint, but I did not mention it. After we talked through all the things that had happened, and we were each thinking and feeling, she said, you are so reliable, and when you didn't show up or answer your phone, I thought something terrible had happened to you. She said, I was imagining you in a pool of blood on the side of the highway, or at home, sick, and couldn't reach your phone. And she said, I didn't know what to do, and I was very upset. And she said her upset was also magnified by some upsetting news she'd received the day before related to her health. News she had not been ready to share with me until a week or two later. And after much conversation, she also finally said, I discovered that this situation triggered something from the past, an old memory when she was traveling in Paris with a friend, and they had plans to meet at a certain place to sightsee together, and when Bernadette got to that location, her friend was not there. And so she was left on her own, feeling desolate and upset and abandoned. And when she talked to her friend at that time, she said her friend's assumption was, if I get to a location and I don't see you there, I'm leaving. But that was different from what Bernadette believed was right. And that came up for her when she realized I had gotten on the train and was going downtown without her. So, luckily, we have a long friendship, and this is just a little blip in the road, and we were able to settle it all happily. And so then there's a second brief story I'm going to tell you about money and beliefs, and that is about Sue, who's a probate estate planning attorney that deals a lot with the topic of other people's money all the time. So she talks with others about their money all the time. But she has a love-hate relationship with money. She wanted things to change to bring her, she wanted things that money would bring her, but she was ambivalent about having it. Turns out her father had used money like a hammer. He would hit people over the head with money and use it for control and for punishment. Until she took the money books belief class with me, she hadn't realized that she believed that's how money had to be used, as a tool of power and control. And Sue was not the kind of person who wanted to hit people over the head with money or to control them. She'd always told herself she didn't want to have a lot to do with money because of that. But of course, that it limited the amount of income she had. But after learning about money and the variety of beliefs that people have about it, she realized that the way her father did money was the way he did life. It wasn't just money that her father used that way. That's the way he did life in general. And Sue made a commitment to examine the ideas and beliefs she had about money and to change the ones that weren't working for her. She realized she's a very different kind of person, a much more loving and compassionate person than her father.